Mr. Bailey, you good?
Yeah.
Mr. Polk, you good?
I'm good.
Ms. McNeil?
Got right at the end.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, you're good?
Yes, sir.
Good deal. You ready? All right, all hearts and minds clear? Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the City of Douglas Mayor and Commission. This will serve as the work session for January the 13th, 2025. As always, we're gonna turn it over to the pride of West Green, Georgia. Charlie, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 0-6 for the last 6 years. One and done, Davis.
Thank you for the introduction, Mayor. First item is item 1, found on page 4, review of the December 26, 2024 meeting minutes. That's
Mr. Polk,
Consent.
Mr. Bailey, Ms. McNeil,
Consent.
Mr. Taylor.
Consent.
Next item.
And for clarification, that's actually December 23rd meeting minutes. It's not the 26th, so I need to change. I want to change that on the agenda item there. All right, next item is item 2, found on page 14. Discuss the animal shelter contract between the City of Douglas, the Coffee County Board of Commissioners, and the Lappaw Animal Control for the operation of the animal shelter effective January 1st. As you know, the Humane Society quit with that operation many years ago, and so we've been contracting with the Lappaw Animal Control. And this will be, the contract expired at December 31st, and so we're bringing this back. The county's already approved their portion, and so we're bringing this back tonight for y'all to approve the next 5-year contract on this for the operation of the animal shelter.
Okay, I actually talked to the city manager about this, and I would say consent. Ms. McNeil?
Yes, sir, consent.
Mr. Taylor?
Consent.
Mr. Paul?
Consent.
Mr. Bailey?
Consent.
Thank you. Next item?
All right, next item is item 3, found on page 22. Discussed a resolution authorizing the city to become a member of the GMA's Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency, also known as GERMA.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. I stand before you tonight to seek approval to become a member of GMA GERMA, authorizing the mayor to sign off the resolution. There was a House Bill 451 that was passed through Georgia legislation that requires public entities to provide the PTSD supplemental insurance for our first responders. In our case, it's the firemen and the police officer. So tonight, I'm asking you to execute the resolution to allow the city manager to execute the documents, okaying him to sign off so we can become a member of GERMA. That's the only way that we could become a member is by y'all signing off on that resolution.
Okay. Commissioner McNeil, lead us through it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm very much in favor of this
Consent?
consent agenda, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Consent.
Mr. Paul?
Consent.
Mr. Bailey?
Consent.
Thank you. Next item?
All right, next item is item 4, found on page 59. Discuss the purchase and install of one double-faced electronic messaging center, Stevie Young.
Good evening, good evening.
Been a while since you've been up here.
It's been a while, Mr.
You've
Mayor.
been
Yes,
ducking
sir.
us.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Good evening once again. Coming before you all seeking approval to purchase one double-sided electronic message board at J.C. Adams Municipal Park. It'll be at the entranceway of 441 and Van Davis Road. It's a budgeted item.
Commissioner McNeil, your department, lead us through it.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda.
Mr. Taylor?
Consent.
Mr. Paul?
Consent.
Mr. Bailey?
Consent.
Next item.
All right, next item is item 5. found on page 62, discuss the replacement of a 6-inch gas meter at the county line, Andrew Jackson.
Mr. Jackson, is this your first time? Oh, man, oh, man.
Y'all wear him out.
Oh, man, I need to know how much metal it takes for a 1 mile, 8-inch main.
I'll text you that answer later on.
No, I need it now.
I can't give it to you right
How
now.
much do it weigh?
Huh?
How much do it weigh?
We'll talk about it later on. You put me on the spot on that one. So, good evening, everyone. Seeking approval to replace our 6-inch gas meter at the station that we have. Right now, the meter we have in there is not working. It's been there for 25 years. Quite naturally, they don't have no parts to replace it. And this is a item that we really need. It also includes a new YZ system, which our YZ system puts in our odorant in our gas.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
right now,
Mr. Bailey, your department, lead us through it.
I consent, certainly recommend that we move forward with it. It's
All right.
a lot of good information there.
Mr. Polk,
I consent.
Ms. McNeil,
Yes, sir, consent.
Mr. Taylor,
Consent.
thank you.
Thank y'all.
Don't forget to text me.
I got you. Working on it now.
Next
All right.
item.
Next item is item 6, found on page 76, discuss the La Mansion Mexican Restaurant and Bar alcoholic beverage license. Georgia?
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have an alcoholic beverage license request for on-site consumption of liquor, beer, and wine for La Mansion Mexican Restaurant. As you all may or may not know, this is the location of the Old Flying Cowboys at 1645 Peterson Avenue South. We have properly advertised and ran this through the police department. Everything checks out, so we will need to take it forward tonight for a public hearing.
All right. Mr. Taylor, you okay with carrying it forward for the public hearing?
Yes, sir. Carry forward.
Ms. McNeil, carry it forward.
Yes, sir, carry.
Mr. Paul, we got to carry it forward.
Carry forward.
Mr. Bailey, we're going to carry it forward. Excellent. Next item.
All right, continuing on with the libations, item 7 here, found on page 79, discuss the OM Shive 9 LLC DBA T&M Food Mart alcoholic beverage license. Georgia?
Again, we have an alcohol beverage license for retail sales off premises at T&M Food Mart located at 1626 Peterson Avenue. This is due to a change of ownership in which they have to reapply for a license at this location. Same thing, public hearing is required tonight before you take
Good deal.
action.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, carry it forward.
Yes, carry forward. Yes, sir.
Commissioner McNeil, carry it forward. Commissioner McNeil?
Yes, sir, carry.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Paul? Carry it forward. Mr. Bailey?
Carry it forward.
Next item.
All right, next item is item 8, found on page 82, discuss the appointments to the Douglas Coffee County Planning Commission. Georgia?
As you all may recall, we have 2 positions that we're trying to fill on the Douglas Coffee County Planning Commission. We have properly publicized, we received 2 applications, so we're here before you tonight to recommend appointment of Dr. Morris Lease and Mr. Avery Daniels to fill those 2 positions.
Mr. Taylor, your department, lead us through it.
Consent.
Consent. Commissioner McNeil?
Consent.
Mr. Paul?
Consent.
Mr. Bailey? Thank you. Next item.
Next item is item 9, found on page 88, discuss the award to Doyle Hancock and Sons Construction Company for the 2022 GFA water system improvements.
We received bids and opened those on December the 19th, so we're here before you tonight. We received 4 bids. The lowest one was for Doyle Hancock and Sons Construction in the amount of $1,520,688.50, and we're recommending them as the low bidder tonight.
Mr. Taylor, your department.
Consent.
Consent. Commissioner McNeil.
Consent.
Mr. Paul.
Consent.
Mr. Bailey. Thank you. Next item.
All right, next item is item 10, found on page 93, discuss a submittal resolution for the CHIP 2025. Georgia?
We are making application again for the CHIP, the Community Home Investment Program grant. It would be in the area of our neighborhood revitalization area strategy. This will be in the Jamestown area, more specifically off of McDonald Road, Glendale Avenue, Holiday Circle, and Jamestown Drive. And we're here tonight to ask that you all give us permission to submit that grant application and for the mayor to sign the resolution.
Commissioner Taylor,
Will that be a consent or move forward?
consent.
Consent.
Commissioner McNeil,
Yes, sir, consent.
Mr. Paul,
Consent.
Mr. Bailey.
Consent.
Good. Next item?
Next item is item 11, found on page 97, and this will be actually on the regular meeting, but we're asking y'all's permission to allow this to take this forward. It'll be to hold a second reading and public hearing of rezoning petition of 2002, parcel ID 0097B013 and 0097B008. Georgia?
Everything, echoing the same thing the city manager said, we received a rezoning application from Ms. Ella Carvajal for 202 Osceola Road, those parcel numbers being 0097B and 13 and 0097B008. We've had the first reading, so it will go forward to your regular meeting tonight for the second reading, along with a public hearing, followed by action from the mayor and commission.
Good deal.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Taylor, carried it forward.
Carry forward.
Mrs. McNeil,
Yes, sir, carried.
Mr. Paul,
Carry forward.
and Mr. Bailey. Good
Thank
deal.
you.
Excuse me, Ms. Henderson, do we have a cadet out there?
Yeah, I think.
There's one out there? There's two? Would you get their name for me? So, once I get their names, what I do is, it's gonna be okay to adjourn the work session, go directly into the, meeting. You're good with that, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Paul?
Good with
And Mr. Bailey? Good deal. Did Commissioner Gowan ask someone to bring the invocation? He did not? Okay, he was slated to do that. Chief Wright? Good deal. Thank you. Bolanos? Chief, Chase, okay, good deal. All right, here we go. We stand adjourned of the work session. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the City of Douglas Mayor and Commission. This will serve as our regular meeting for January the 13th, 2025. Next item on the agenda will be our invocation, and our fire chief will bring that invocation for us. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Father, we come to you tonight, God, humbly asking for your hand of blessing, your hand of grace and mercy. Lord, you've shown so greatly how much you care for our community by keeping us safe, Father, inside of all the damage that was done. Lord, you kept your hedge of protection around us, and we thank you for that. We ask, God, that you bless this leadership. God, you bless our community. Lord, let us be a shining star to those around us. Lord, go with us in every walk that we walk, every step that we take. Let us be that witness you would have for us to be. God, again, we just thank you for everything you've done. Lord, we're going to praise you for all you're going to do. In your precious and holy name we ask these things, and amen.
Amen. If you would, if you're able, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Tonight we have representing the Coffee High Navy Junior ROTC, we actually have the Commander, Commander Bolanos, and Chief Petty Officer Chase Williams. Please lead us through it, General. You may be seated. And yes, he does look like Bruno Mars. All right. Next thing, item on the agenda is the approval of the order of the agenda.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda items. As always, for transparency, we'll turn it over to our city manager, and he will read off those items that were placed on the consent agenda. Mr. City Manager, please lead us through it.
Mayor and council, we have 8 items coming over on the consent agenda tonight, and as stated, I'll read them all. First item was item 1, review of the December 23rd, 2024 meeting minutes. Next was approval of the animal shelter contract agreement between the City of Douglas, Coffee County Board of Commissioners, and the Lappaha Animal Control for the operation of the animal shelter effective January 1, 2025 for a 5-year period. Next was item 3, approval of the resolution authorizing the city to become a member of the GMA's Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency, also known as GIRMA. The next item was item 4, approval to purchase and installation of 1 double-face electronic message center board for the Recreation Department. Next was item 5, approval of replacement of the 6-inch gas meter at the county line. The next item was item 8, approval of appointments to the Douglas Coffee County Planning Commission. And the next item was approval of award to Doyle Hancock and Sons Construction Company for the 2022 GFA water system improvements. And the last item was approval of the submittal resolution for the CHIP 2025 DCA resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is items brought forward from the work session. And again, we will have our city manager to lead us through it. Mr. Davis?
Mayor and council, we've got 3 items coming forward. The first item was item 6 from the work session. Discuss and hold a hearing for the alcoholic beverage license for the La Mansion Mexican Restaurant and Bar LLC.
Okay, prior to taking action on this item, I must conduct a public hearing. Therefore, I'll call to order a public hearing for the issuance of a license for La Mansion Mexican Restaurant and Bar LLC located at 1645 South Peterson Avenue. If you have a comment on this alcoholic beverage license, please step to the podium. You have 3 minutes to make whatever statement you wish, and state your name and address as well. Okay, there is no one, Mr. Mayor. This is ready for action.
At this time, I entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item, item 7, that was found on page 79. This is to hold a public hearing and then take actions on OEM Shive 9 LLC doing business as T&M Food Mart concerning alcoholic beverage license.
Okay, I'll convene a public hearing for the OM Shive 9 LLC DBA T&M Food Mart located at 1626 South Peterson Avenue. If anyone has a statement regarding this issuance of this license, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Apparently, there is no one that's ready for action, Mr. Mayor.
At this time, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Mr. City Manager.
Next item is item 9 from the work session. Hold a second reading and conduct a public hearing on rezoning petition for the 2002 Ocilla Road for partial 0097B013 and partial 0097B008.
All right, I'll do the second reading, and then we'll have the public hearing. Be it ordained by the Mayor and Board of Commissioners of the City of Douglas, Georgia, is hereby ordained by authority the same from and after the passage of this ordinance, both the Unified Land Development Code of the City of Douglas, Georgia, adopted by the Mayor and Board of Commissioners of the City of Douglas, Georgia on February 28, 2011, as amended, and comprehensive plan of the City of Douglas, Georgia, adopted by the Mayor and Board of Commissioners of the City of Douglas, Georgia on October 8, 2007, as amended, and stands amended as follows. Following tracts of land should hereafter be zoned M1 light industrial. All that tract of parcel of land lying situate being an original lot of land number 146 in the 6th Land District, Coffee County, Georgia, being all of Tract 2, consisting of 3.04 acres, more or less, as shown on a plat prepared by Adam Evans, registered land surveyor, dated May 26, 2020, and recorded in Plat Book 120, page 84, in the Office of Clerk Superior Court of Coffee County, Georgia. Said plat being incorporated herein by reference for all purposes, subject to and also conveyed a 30-foot access easement as shown and depicted on the reference plat. Map and parcel 0097B013. All that tract of parcel land lying and being an original lot of land number 131 and 146 in the 6th Land District of Coffee County, Georgia, being all of Tract 3 consisting of 10.43 acres, more or less, as shown on a plat prepared by Carlton Evans, registered land surveyor, dated November 1, 1984, and recorded in Plat Book 38, page 51, in the Office of Clerk Superior Court of Coffee County, Georgia, and said plat being incorporated by reference for all purposes. Mountain parcel 0097B008, often read for the first time at a regular meeting of the Mayor Board of Commissioners, City of Douglas, Georgia, on December 23rd, 2024, and read for the second time, and passed and ordained at a regular meeting of the Mayor Board of Commissioners as properly advertised and captioned as required under the Charter of the City of Douglas, Georgia, on January 13th, 2025. Okay, I will now convene a public hearing for the proposed rezoning on the property that I just read. If you have a comment on this proposed rezoning, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and whatever comment you may have, you have 3 minutes.
Hold up for a second. Since we have a rather large contingency, one of the rules allows for me as the mayor to say, hey, if you're for the item, you can designate one person, and I will allow that one person 8 minutes. And also for the side that's for or against. If numerous people come up and they are saying the same thing, then I'll cut it off. Okay?
No,
Make sense?
I started right here.
All right. First person, are you going to be a spokesperson or you're just speaking individually?
Mayor, I'm not going to act as a spokesperson tonight. I'm here only on behalf of Mr. Lewis and Mrs. Ruby Harper.
Okay.
Just as an aside, Mayor, I believe the ULDC provides for a minimum of 10 minutes to speak in opposition of an issue. Will that be an issue tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Because our rules say that I can set it. But to be amenable, I'll give you 10.
Thank you.
But I'll
Thank you,
also
Mayor.
give the other side 10.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As is their right.
Let's go.
All right, Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Hannah Black. I am from Valdosta, Georgia. My address for the record is 1007 North Patterson Street, Valdosta, Georgia, 31601. As I stated, I'm here on behalf of Mr. Lewis and Miss Ruby Harper, who are lifelong residents of Douglas. They reside at 1910 Osceola Road, which you all might know better as the Coffee House. The Coffee House is located immediately east of the property that's been requested to be rezoned tonight. The Coffee House was built in 1920 and has been preserved and maintained as a historic landmark in Douglas by the Harpers for over 40 years. I'm not even from Douglas, and I knew what the Coffee House was, and I knew exactly where it was when you come into Douglas. Commissioners, we submitted our formal written objection earlier today. I hope that everyone received that and had a chance to review it. If not, I've printed everyone a copy, and it should be on your desk. I'm not going to read that entire objection verbatim, but I would like to hit the high notes. But please, if at any time anyone has any questions or any points of clarification are needed, please do not hesitate to stop me. That's what we're here for tonight. Seems to be a lot of misconceptions surrounding this rezoning request. Mayor and Commissioners, just to start off, the property is currently zoned as general commercial, and the applicant has proposed to rezone it to light manufacturing. That's M1. And they want to do that in order to continue future construction for permitted uses in the M1 district and to become compliant with the zoning code. That comes directly from the public notice that was posted in the newspaper. Again, just to reiterate, to become compliant. It's because they're not compliant and they haven't been for some time now. And that's actually the entire issue with this rezoning request, is that this application has been submitted to this board as a means of rectifying long-standing violations and non-compliance with the Douglas Code. As further discussed in our objection, the applicant's use of this property violates the Douglas zoning code in numerous ways. To begin, and I don't think anyone disputes this fact, the property is clearly used for industrial manufacturing. That's because the applicant engages in cargo trailer manufacturing on the property. I don't think anyone would disagree that that's industrial manufacturing. However, Commissioners, industrial manufacturing is not permitted in a general commercial zoning district. And the applicant's use of the property is not a legal non-conforming use. I just want to repeat that. Any representation that the current use of this property is a legal non-conforming use or a continuous use or was grandfathered in is completely incorrect. Just as a refresher, Council and Mayor, the Douglas zoning code provides that to be a legal non-conforming use, several things have to exist. The first is that use must have been established prior to February 28, 2011. That's when Douglas adopted their zoning code. That use must not have ever been expanded, enlarged, moved, or altered in any way. All right, that's our second big thing here. Third, that use must have never been discontinued from a period of at least 6 months or 180 days, however you prefer to calculate that. Okay, 3 big things. Prior to 2011, must not have ever been enlarged, and simply was not discontinued for a period of 6 months. That's section 11(2)(b)(1) of the zoning code. Commissioners, the confusion here is that a prior owner of the property did have a legal non-conforming use. Back in 2007, the prior owner did start engaging in some light manufacturing activities. That was in 2007. However, that legal non-conforming use was terminated in 2017. It was terminated when the prior owner completely stopped all industrial manufacturing uses on the property and even moved all those uses off of the property, began manufacturing elsewhere where it was more appropriate to engage in those sorts of activities. Commissioners, the city records even show that all utilities to the property were disconnected in 2017. Okay, disconnected utilities, moved off the property. You cannot hit home hard enough. The use stopped in 2017. There is no city record showing a business license in place for this property between 2017 and 2019 when the applicant began using the property under a lease. Okay, so just to revisit, we had a legal non-conforming use that went from 2007 to 2017 that was terminated in 2017. In 2019, the applicant came in and began reusing light industrial, heavy industrial, however you'd like to characterize it, uses. At that time, in 2019, it was no longer a legal non-conforming use. That was an illegal non-conforming use, okay? It was discontinued for more than 6 months. We're done. The code clearly says when a legal non-conforming use has been discontinued, you must then act in compliance with the code. Commissioners, there's even a report by the city planner that says there are no variances, there are no special permits, there's nothing in the code that applies to this property, okay? Nothing's grandfathered in. That use stopped. So again, just to repeat, I cannot be, any more emphatic on this one point. There is no legal non-conforming use on the property. However, since then, the applicant has been able to operate in that way. The applicant has been allowed to take this illegal non-conforming use, not only to pick it up, but to expand it greatly. So Commissioners, I ask you, even if you disagree, even if you say, well, I'll give it to them, maybe that time period between 2017 and 2019 was odd, but maybe they had the light use like the prior owner had. I know you've seen the pictures of the property, and you've seen how it's expanded. Commissioners, that's completely in violation of the code. That is not permitted under the code. Commissioners, this application has been put forth to you all as a means of sweeping all these ongoing violations under the rug, as a means of just quickly correcting them. But that's not right. That's not how we correct issues. We correct them in compliance with the law. We correct them the same way we'd ask any other property owner to correct those issues. We don't permit a rezoning request that goes completely against our standards and objectives to fix these deficiencies. Commissioners, if you grant this rezoning request, you would not only be condoning non-compliance with the code, with the Douglas zoning code, you'd be actively encouraging other property owners to completely disregard the code because, hey, we'll just fix it on a rezone later. Don't worry about it. It's just as an aside as well, Commissioners, it should be noted that the activities that are taking place on the property should be characterized as heavy industrial manufacturing. Under the code, the difference between heavy and light manufacturing activities is that heavy activities produce nuisances. That's those odors, dust, traffic, vibrations, all those undesirable effects that the surrounding property owners feel. So again, that's already happening on the property. That is happening today in violation of the code. Even if you grant this rezoning request, this rezone to M1, that is not permitted in M1. Heavy industrial uses are not permitted in the M1 zoning district. So again, even if you grant, this property owner will still be in violation of the code. You will again be granting a violation. You will be allowing an ongoing breach. Beyond the illegal use, and Mayor, feel free to give me a heads up whenever I've reached.
Oh, okay. I try to be attentive.
Thank you, sir. This is certainly a matter where it counts. Beyond the illegal use of the property, that illegal non-conforming use, the property also fails to meet many of the supplemental zoning standards that are applicable to industrial standards, or that are applicable to industrial uses. So again, not only have we violated the proper use of the property, we've violated our setback requirements, our buffer requirements, our building requirements, and this has been ongoing since 2019. It is not the Harper's obligation to keep up with whether these property owners are acting in compliance with the code. That is the city's job, and that's what's gone unchecked for too long. Just to quote a few, Mayor and Commissioners, Section 720V states that where an industrial use, which I don't think any of us would disagree, this is industrial, abuts a non-industrial use, there must be a masonry buffer wall, a brick wall, that's a minimum of 6 feet and a maximum of 10 feet along the full length of the property, along with a 6-foot landscape buffer on that wall. Again, I actually urge you to review the photos in your packet, and you'll see that there has been no compliance with this requirement. Aside from that, Table 5.7 of the code states that when an industrial use abuts a residential use, which this property is abutted by residential uses on the north, east, and west. When such an industrial use abuts a residential use, there must be a 30-foot side yard and rear yard buffer. Again, I urge you to look at the photos. You'll see no buffer requirement met. Which again, those are directly in violation of the code. Commissioners, I hope at this point it's very clear that we're going to ask for denial of this rezoning request. But in the very least, if this zoning request is granted, we urge you, please require strict compliance with the zoning code and these buffer requirements and the fencing requirements. It's the least we can do to come into compliance with the code. Commissioners, and I'll leave you with this point. I know I've gone on. Or is that my time?
Yeah,
Is that my time? Or,
go ahead and close.
I'll just leave you on this note, because I know several others in the room want to speak, but again, Commissioners, the big thing here, this is not a legal non-conforming use. The city records show that it is not a legal non-conforming use. That advice is completely incorrect. But I could harp on that all night. I could show you the records, I could show you the utility disconnect. But what I want to leave you with is just the human element here. The zoning standards that you're all asked to consider, they all boil down to the well-being of your constituents, your community stakeholders, and your property owners. They ask you to consider nuisances, property values, the environment, even the long-term plan for the city of Douglas. We firmly believe if you grant this zoning request, you will be turning your back on all of those. Okay? Thank you. Commissioner.
Thank you. Do we have
Is there anyone else who wishes to make a statement?
Mayor, Commissioners, I think all of you know me, Billy Ray Harper. I reside here in Douglas, Georgia, 1405 Golf Club Road. Been here all my life. These are my parents, Louis and Ruby. We celebrated my mother's birthday, I'm not going to say what birthday it was, this past Saturday. Later this year, we'll celebrate my father's 90th birthday. Later, in October of this year, we will be celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary. I'd like to give them a hand publicly here. Being the parents they have been to me and my siblings for maintaining this historic piece of property for over half their life. Now, they've gone through in the recent storm, as many people here in this room probably have, and all of Coffee County and Douglas, with the storm and the problems that we've had. They were without power for 30 days on that property. They had to remove 40-something trees. And when I say trees, we're talking about some of the largest pine trees in Coffee County. They spent a tremendous amount of money on that piece of property, not only because of the storm, but maintaining that historic piece of property. And I know this commission, mayor and commission, have supported historic preservation in this community for a long time, and we're very proud of that. Everyone knows this property as being one of the most historic pieces of property in the county as a residential home. I'd ask you to, from hearing from the attorney, it's obvious that some things have happened over the last 2 years. City officials have been to this property, have examined it, knew about the violations, knew about the non-conforming aspects of it, knew about the non-permits that were not issued for buildings and those type things. And this last building that has been put up is just very few feet from the property line. It's a 60 by 100 foot constructed building, approximately 20 feet eave height. It's not a small little metal building. There are numerous trucks that go through there delivering materials and out. And believe me, as a business person in this community, I support this type of industry. I sell a lot of materials to this type of industry. We are in support of jobs being created in Coffee County. But there's a place for that. And we have industrial parks and we have other properties that this type of business can be done on. We asked that tonight, I think it's been very apparent, and I think it's going to become more apparent as we present materials and you have time to look at those materials, that maybe you haven't been given all the information, the background over the last 2.5 years that this has been brought to the attention of some of the city officials. And I ask that you ask the questions, how it got to this point. They received notice of this on December the 27th, 2 days after Christmas. You guys have already had a meeting about it. I'm shocked. I ask that you review this before you make a decision and ask questions. We'll be happy to entertain. We'll be happy to show each and every one of you, come out to the property and review this. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Mayor Polk, Commissioners, my name is Kathy Harper. I am a native of Douglas. I am a property owner. I am a proud Trojan, and I am a part-time resident of 1910 Osceola Road. On behalf of my parents, Lewis and Ruby Harper, my whole family, many of whom are here tonight, and also dozens of concerned citizens and property owners, many of whom are here tonight as well. I am here tonight to voice strong objection to this proposed rezoning application. You've already heard that the residents of our community are opposed to this rezoning. We have a petition that you have all should have received today, and we will, someone is going to provide that as well. But this petition has about 150 property owners and residents named that are directly impacted by this rezoning application, and they are not happy. There are more names. Many of the people that are on this petition are lifelong residents. They are homeowners who live in the area, and they are local business owners. As my brother said, I don't think there's anyone here who's opposed to the applicant's business. I certainly can speak for myself and my family in saying that we fully support the applicant continuing to grow its business in an appropriate location. And we hope they are wildly successful while they comply with local and other laws. Our homes are supposed to be a place of refuge. And in most cases, they represent our most significant financial investment. We want to protect that investment and our way of life. In the case of my parents, they have worked tirelessly, and honestly, I do mean tirelessly, to preserve and protect the heritage of this historical property in the community. They are extraordinarily proud. They are extraordinarily proud to be the custodians and stewards of this property that we all know as the Coffee House. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if any of them are here tonight, but we have spoken to, and we know there are many members of the Coffee family who are strongly opposed to this application. Many, they recognize, my family recognizes that we have a strong responsibility to continue to protect this property, and we intend to do so for generations to come. As important as this issue is to our family, it's also of critical importance to the surrounding property owners and to our neighborhoods. In spite of their youthful looks and despite the cold weather of the last several days, my parents have been working around the clock to make sure that people understand what has been going on. Again, as my brother said, they got notice of this on December 27th, after the Planning Commission had taken place and after the first reading. They were blindsided on December 27th. That was the first notice. So when we started speaking to some of you, and you said, well, we thought this was a ministerial action only, that's how it was presented to us, and there was no objection. Wrong, could not be more wrong. Could not be more wrong. And I'm going to say this, I love my parents, and I have never been more proud of you than this week. As homeowners and taxpayers, we have supported the development of industrial parks that are well-suited for the operations that are conducted by the applicant. However, instead, the applicant began operations on land that was not properly zoned. That is not our fault. Since then, the applicant has expanded dramatically its operations with total disregard to compliance with the laws of this city. The city's land development code is crystal clear on the requirements for site development plans. It is crystal clear on permissible uses. It is crystal clear on the requirement for supplemental requirements on locating in areas adjoining residential use properties, which, as was stated, this does on 3 sides. And despite that clarity, they have chosen to continue to expand these operations with total disregard to the city's laws and total disregard to its neighbors. And now they want you to reward all of that bad behavior while leaving all of the neighbors who've done nothing wrong to pay a hefty price. I would like to come over and make sure that you all see. This shows amongst all of these residential properties in this area. These are the two properties that they're trying to rezone. There's one other M1 property in the entirety of this area. And this is north of the railroad track, which is totally different, and we acknowledge as industrial. There's one M1 property, okay? It's also a cargo trailer manufacturer. This is what that cargo trailer manufacturer looks like. If this is the vision for the entrance to our city, gotta say, not proud, and I don't think that anybody, most of us in here, should be proud of this. We have previously brought to the attention of the city 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had code enforcement officer on the property. They acknowledged what they were doing was not correct. It was not allowed. And they promised to do something about it. Well, guess what? Not only did they not do anything about it, they allowed it to expand. As you well know, there was one small building on the property when they began operating in 2019. It is several times the size of the operation, several times the size of the operation. They don't get permits. They don't do site development plans. And they just completely ignore all of the requirements. I don't think most of us would be able to get away with that. There's a lot of business owners in here who maybe would like to just pick and choose which laws we get to comply with, but that's not the way it works. These are pictures of the applicant's operations from our property. This is the view from the master bedroom. It's not attractive. And again, not permitted, nothing in compliance. And this is not something to be proud of either. So, would just like to close and respectfully ask the commission that you deny this application and that you enforce the city's land development code and laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there
Anyone else?
anybody else?
Good evening, Mayor Paul and Commissioners. My name is Suzanne Ragsdale Harper, and I'm a lifelong resident of Douglas and Coffee County. I reside in Touchton Woods, and I have been a homeowner there for almost 25 years. On behalf of myself, my family, and my neighbors in Touchton Woods, I strongly object to the rezoning application to allow for this manufacturing operations that includes the manufacturing of cargo trailers. The Crosbys, who own and operate Hanson Mobile Home Park, which adjoins to the affected properties, were not able to be here tonight. I'd like to read into the record the letter that they have provided to each of you by email. We are the owners of Hillside Mobile Home Park, located at 2113 Highway 32, west within the city limits of Douglas. The park was started by Shonda's grandfather, Jensen Henson, in the late 1960s. After his passing back in 2009, we became the co-owners with Shonda's father, Larry Henson, until 2023. In 2023, we took over sole ownership of the park. We're writing to voice our strong objection to the proposed rezoning of the properties to allow for manufacturing. We do not believe that seed cargo and overland trailers should ever have been manufacturing cargo trailers on their property, which adjoins to our property. However, they have been continuing to expand rapidly, and it's of great concern to us as property owners and residents. As you're aware, there is already another much smaller cargo trailer manufacturing operation in front of our property, which is an eyesore. Our residents have complained many times about the noisy operations, which begin extremely early in the mornings. They've also complained about paint overspray. We've lost a few tenants recently because of this, and there are also employees in the nearby medical office facilities that have had problems with paint drifting from the operations and ruining their car finishes. Under no circumstances should the city approve this additional cargo trailer manufactured in any area surrounded by the private residences. We believe that there is far more appropriate locations for these type of operations than in our long-standing neighborhoods. So our desire was to attend Monday night's January 13th meeting. However, due to a scheduling conflict and being out of town, we cannot. If proper notification had been given, we could have adjusted our schedule accordingly. No notice of the meeting nor rezoning application submittal was given. We only became aware of the issue after seeing signs of opposition that was posted in the nearby yards. We would be more than happy to discuss our concerns directly with each one of you upon request. As our elected representatives and our voice, we respectfully ask for you to deny the rezoning located at 2002 and 2004 Osceola Road, Douglas, Georgia. Thank you for protecting our quality of life, and thank you, commissioners, and we appreciate your consideration for all our neighbors that are concerning this important matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Suzanne Branch. I am Ruby and Lewis's daughter. And I would like to make certain that we voice our opposition to the rezoning application. And I would like to enter into the formal minutes, all of these signed documents from the petitioners that we spoke to, and they are extremely in opposition of rezoning this property. I know we've talked about some of this. Do you think I should read the whole thing? Because it's kind of been repeated. So what I do want to read is the petition that we submitted, or we gathered. The undersigned residents and property owners of the city of Douglas, of Georgia, object to the rezoning of the affected parcels and urge the city commission to reject the rezoning application and enforce the city's unified land development code and existing laws and regulations regarding permitted land use of the affected parcel. There is a total of 146 signatures right now, and we have others that are coming in as well. And so we definitely would like this to go into the
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, if there's no one else, this concludes the public hearing. It's with the commission.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, let me just say thank you for your patience, allowing this extra.
Sure. Sure. Just a Monday night football game.
DVR.
So at this time, is anyone on the commission have any questions, any comments? No questions or comments? So the issue before, go ahead. Mr. Bailey?
I guess, I've certainly looked at the pictures, gone out and looked at the property, and read through Ms. Black's proposal or mail, I should say. What concerns me, going back to day one, so to speak, is that there's been some manufacturing on that property for 20-plus years. Now, yes, I do agree over the last few years it has notched it up a little bit. It's not as light as it was, certainly when just some lawnmower type, tilt trailers were being built out there. But with that being said, is there any, I'm going to ask a rhetorical question, is there any room for them to coexist? And Ms. Black, you referenced the green space and, brick, walls and so forth. And again, it's a rhetorical question. Is it possible for both to exist? I certainly understand, the Harper's position. It is a historical property. It's a gorgeous piece of property. And, but in light of 20-some-odd years of manufacturing taking place out there, that's the obvious question to me, is what took it so long?
Mayor, if I may address.
Of course.
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Bailey. With reference to the 20-plus years of manufacturing, the entire point, Commissioner Bailey, and it cannot be emphasized enough. You're right. In 2007, there was a legal non-conforming use. We do not dispute that. I can even give you the property owner's name. It looks like Norman Fletcher had the property in 2007, and he operated a light manufacturing type business on the property from 2007. That's the exact date is actually August 23rd, 2007, until September 18th of 2017. So you're right, that was about 10 years of a legal non-conforming use, and it was legal because it was established before February 28th of 2011, which is when we adopted our zoning code. You're right.
Two employees.
Okay, so, and again, so it was a very small operation. No one disputes that. There was a single building there, I believe. Again, August of 2017 to September of August of 2007 until September of 2017. In September of 2017, Norman Fletcher had the utilities to the property disconnected. All manufacturing stopped. The Unified Land Development Code is extremely clear. When a legal non-conforming use is discontinued for a 6-month period or 180-day period, you are no longer entitled to that use. You don't get to come back in 6 months later and pick it right back up. It is extremely, extremely clear. And even besides, the reference to a 6-month period, once you've stopped for 6 months, you cannot pick it back up. It also very importantly says that you cannot expand it. You cannot enlarge it. Like I said in my opening comments, it is not the Harper's responsibility to watch this property, to make sure they're not expanding and not enlarging. That is the city's responsibility. Okay? We understand the city can't help that no permits were filed, that improper licenses were filed. We understand that. We don't blame the city for that. But we ask that the city doesn't blame the Harpers for letting it get to this point. Okay? It's clear this application is, again, a way to kind of sweep this under the rug, get this issue out of the way, but we should not be condoning violations. This was not a legal non-conforming use. It ended in 2017. The current owner had no right to reestablish it in 2019. If that answers your question, Commissioner Bailey.
Somewhat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bailey, any other questions?
Yes.
Mr. Parker, you have any questions?
No.
Commissioner McNeil, you have any questions?
I've spoken with the family and with representation from the city.
Mr. Taylor?
No, sir.
Okay, at this time, the issue before this mayor and council is to rezone the property to M1, is it M1? Light commercial. So at this time, I offer a motion that we rezone the property as recommended by the city.
Second.
It's been motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
I'm opposed, Mr. Mayor.
You oppose it? So that was a yay?
Mayor, may I honestly say that since we had two commissioners out tonight, one who I think is key in this rezoning, the commissioner for that ward, and who has, I think, put a lot of research and time into this. And I don't know that this could be put off for another meeting or anything like that,
we have a legal,
I think.
we have a legal quorum. It requires 4 votes to conduct business in the city of Douglas. We have met that very basic requirement of having a quorum. Correct, Mr. City Manager? And
That's
Mr.
correct.
Attorney? Yes. So what was your vote?
Okay. My vote then is to uphold, again, you who know me, and I know many of you in this room, like Commissioner Bailey, I want there to be a win-win situation. And I've talked with the family about this, and I've talked with several people about this. Because I know this industry, this manufacturing plant has employees that are depending on a job. And they didn't go out there and make this investment without doing their research or doing their, and they didn't make this investment lightly, as did the Harpers not on their property. You know, I do respect both of those. So again, I pray that they can be, that they can work this out to be in a way that, that the Harpers and these folks can work together on this property and work through this. And I'm going to uphold the city's motion to approve.
Okay. At this time, the motion carries to rezone. Next item on the agenda is,
Please repeat that vote.
the vote was 4-1. Mr. Bailey voted in dissenting. So at this time, the next item on the agenda is staff comments. Do we have any staff comments, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, sir.
At this time, we're going to have an executive session. So at this time, I entertain a motion to go in executive session.
So moved.
Second. It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are now in executive session. Executive session is only for the mayor and council. Thank you very much for your participation.